takes the buggy back and puts it back in the shopping cart corral. She gets in, and she backs out towards me. As she backs out towards me, this lady whips in a van and goes like this at me as she does it. I wanted to lose it, but I knew. Deep breath. I drove to the back of the parking lot. I put in one of my CDs. I happen to sing just like the person on the radio, as long as no one else is in the car. So I sang my favorite song, just like the person on the radio. And then I went in the store, and here's what I do. And I did that so that I wouldn't walk in with this lady, because I might be tempted to say something. See, I chose to let that lady make me mad. She didn't really make me mad. So if I choose to let somebody make me mad, I have to do 3 good deeds. So I found trash on the floor that wasn't mine, picked it up, put it in the trash can. I found a little old lady who didn't know where the rice was, and I knew where the rice was, so I helped her find the rice, and then I helped her find a tall person, get the rice down, because I can't reach it either. And then I let somebody get in front of me in line at the grocery store. Every time I choose to let somebody make me mad, I have to do 3 good deeds. I figure that's bad karma if I let that happen, and so I have to bring good karma into I figure karma will get that lady. She'll probably have a flat tire on the way home, and it won't be my fault. So I tell kids that, and they're like, you really do that? And I said, yeah, but it's what has stopped me from losing my temper, because when I was in my teens, I had a temper, and I could let my mouth get me into trouble, kind of like you are sitting in my office talking to me about what you just did. So sharing with kids, what do you do? And everybody in this room has a trick that you do. What do you do? Anybody want to share? What do you do to keep from getting mad when somebody does tick you off? When a kid stands up and says, F you, you effing, what do you do?
Have you heard of the video Charlie Whitney?
Yes.
I replay that in my head.
Yeah.
Every time I watch this, and I've watched it about 100 times.
Charlie bit me. Have you guys seen that? Little baby brother puts his finger in the little boy's mouth, or the older brother puts his finger in the baby's mouth, and the baby bites him. And he's from England, so he's got a funny accent.
I say you're fighting a giant. You fight like David.
Oh, yeah. So in your head,
right.
You say.
Oh, I'll physically do this. When nobody's around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's getting your energy out, so very good. Anybody count?
I always try to remember it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's not aimed at me.
Get yourself a Q-tip. Stands for quit taking it personally. Just carry it around. You are not the cause of this kid's behavior. You just happen to be the recipient.
It's kind of like what she says, but then I go, okay, with what they just told me, how do I put a positive spin? So if they're using colorful adjectives, I'll say, well, gosh, I'm glad that you could use those adjectives. I hope that it's going to be more appropriate the next time. Maybe we should say this instead of this, but I'm glad that you're communicating with me.
Yeah.
Hopefully next time we'll think of a better way.
How to turn a negative into a positive is what she's doing. So, great. Yeah, well, and you have to be ready. You have to know, here's how I'm going to handle this when this kid, and I'm taking too long to do this, but I just want, when I show you the data, yoga breathing for kids is a really great thing that kids can do. I'm not talking about kids doing downward dog or the cactus, but yoga breathing, putting your tongue behind your 2 front teeth, closing your mouth and breathing in through your nose, rushes oxygen up here to the frontal cortex. The synapses fire up here in frontal cortex when we do that. You're thinking when the frontal cortex is engaged, and so we want to keep kids thinking. They have to keep their mouth closed. What you notice is when kids get aggressive, they tend to keep their mouth open, which means all that air is just rushing right down into their lungs instead of some of it going up to frontal cortex, which means the kid is in brainstem. So they're just reacting. So we need to teach them, get the oxygen up to your brain. That's where you need it, up here in frontal cortex, not back here in brainstem. And I think it's very important to share these things with kids. And if we do this, we'll see. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but teaching kids karate having them take karate lessons if they're aggressive, because the sensei, if you've got a good school, will really focus on teaching respect, awareness of body. And what I've noticed, we've been doing this at the alternative school, what I've noticed is the kids walk, they have much better posture now that they are engaged, they have somebody come to the school and teach it at the school. That way they have control over the respect piece of that and how important that is. The kids don't get to learn the fun kicks and breaking the boards and stuff like that until they prove that they are respectful and have control over their bodies. So it's really kind of a cool thing. Social autopsies. How many of you know what a social autopsy is? Nobody? Rick Lavoie coined the term, I think, in 1994, 1992. And it didn't catch on. But now when I say to a kid, do you want to go do an autopsy about what just happened? The kids are like, because they think we're going to go down the hallway and cut up a frog. Because of CSI and all those shows, every kid in America knows what an autopsy is. So they think we're going to go do something like that. If you look in your book, on page, I'm going to show it to you later, but if you look in your book on page 82, just flip the page over. This is a copy of a social autopsy. And what I like about it is the first column, here's what was going on. 82, sorry. So here's what was going on. The kid can write or draw a picture depending on their academic levels, and then the teacher can dictate if they're really young. Michael called me dodo head on the playground. So that's what was going on. The next column is, here's what I did that caused a social error. And I like using those words with kids. Those are words from Rick Lavoie. Here's what I did that caused a social error. I slugged Michael. I hit Michael. That was a social error. The middle column is, here's where it died. Here's where everything went south. Here's where I got in trouble. I got sent to the office. The next column is how I'm going to make restitution to Michael. I hit Michael. I can't just say sorry. I have to do some kind of restitution. So you have the child actually plan, how are you going to make up for this, for slugging Michael? I'm going to let him go first next time at Foursquare or whatever. And then the last column is, what will I do next time? So the next time Michael calls me dodo head, I'm going to go tell the teacher instead of slugging him. Now this is just simply a think sheet, folks, but I'm going to tell you why think sheets don't work. Most people do think sheets, and then they send it home to the parents. And parents don't put that up on the refrigerator as a proud reminder of their child's skills. It gets filed in file 13, or the principal files it in a file cabinet drawer. What I say is, and you can take off, oh, I did take it off for you. Never mind. Laminate it, put it in a folder, and then have a Groucho Marx secret word of the day. So if this is a kid that always gets in trouble before they go out on the playground, the teacher says, all right, we're going to have a sunshiny recess, and everybody in the room who's got a social autopsy knows sunshiny was their secret word, and that means take out your social autopsy and look at it. So it's just a little secret code between you and the child, and they review it. If Michael calls me dodo head, what am I going to do? I'm going to go tell the teacher. You might, quickly say something to the child to remind them. Remember, if Michael calls you dodo head, what are you going to do? And just get that verbal feedback from them. But I have found that if I do that, if I laminate it and have the child look at it again, it's a whole lot more useful than the one that gets filed in the principal's file cabinet or filed in file 13 at home with the parents. So social autopsies. And the last P is philanthropy. And it's really hard to feel bad about yourself if you are helping someone else. The more you help others, the better you feel about yourself. I taught emotional behavior disorders at the secondary level, and I was allowed to have 5 student assistants during the day. And I found that as I brought kids in who were borderline, who could read better than my kids and so on, that they did a whole lot better in their other classes. So then I moved to another junior high, and I was teaching severe multiple disabilities. So I went into the counselor and I said, tell me 5 kids who you think are going to drop out of school. And we went through the list and we picked out 5 kids that we thought would eventually drop out of school. And I asked those 5 kids to be my teacher assistants for the 5 hours that I was allowed to have. I knew I was doing the right thing when I had a teacher come in and accuse me of giving a kid the answers to a Spanish test. And I said, trust me, I'm not teaching Spanish in here. I do not have your teacher's guides. I could not have given the kid the answers. Whatever answers that kid got, they got on their own. But what we noticed was the kids' grades went up. I'm not saying they went from making F's to A's, but the kids' grades went up to passing grades. So helping others. And I just want to show you on my website, uboost.com gave me a secret link. That is only through my website, but you can go here and sign up and you will get 250,000 free points that you can use to give to children, and they can trade in their gotchas for this, and they can go to this website and they can choose to, these are the things they have right now: plant 10 food producing seeds, protect 10 square feet of the Amazon rainforest, provide a day's worth of food for a villager in Uganda, help protect the Coral Triangle, offset your carbon footprint by 10 pounds, buy treats for dogs in shelters, provide fresh drinking water, or help villagers in Haiti. Sorry, I was reading. They get a certificate that says that they did this. So it's really cool. So this is social philanthropy on a large scale, you know, that they get to help the world. And that's pretty cool. So their behavior can earn points, and it costs about 50 points to be able to do one of these. They have different prices, but most of them average about 50 points. So 50 points to be able to do one of these. You can do local philanthropy. Almost every school in Thanksgiving and Christmas time or winter break time has where they collect cans and stuff like that. Put this kid in charge of graphing how many pounds of cans have come in, or how many boxes of rice have come in, or things like that. Have them do that. And then school philanthropy, going down and helping someone else who is lower than them so that they look good to these little kids. Everybody's got somebody they can be a hero for. So that kind of stuff. If you put the 4 P's in place, here's what will happen for you. And I know I've taken a long time to do this, but I've also given you a whole bunch of interventions along the way, in case you haven't noticed. This is data from one of my schools, and on my website, I'll show you later where you can find lots of data on lots of them. I renamed all the teachers, just so you know. This is pre-K, Mrs. Gooder, Mrs. Goodest, and Mrs. Good. These were their inappropriate behaviors, and what they did was they took a whole month's worth of data and averaged it for a week. So they wanted to have 4 weeks of data. They divided it by 4, and this was the average. The students averaged 8 behaviors per week. After 1 month of intervention, the student behavior was 2 per week in 1 month of intervention. Here is 5 to 0, 3 to 2, all improvement. Same thing, Miss Tilapia and Mrs. Salmon. You can tell I was hungry when I was working on this. Averaged 5, went down to 2. Averaged 4.5, went down to 1. And so you can see the grade levels. We didn't always do behavior, but this was inappropriate behaviors. Here's Ty's behavior. And here's academic scores. So different teachers chose to focus on different things to report, whatever was of concern to them. So here's reading before and after, and here's math before and after. Bliss's grades, Faith's grades. You can see grades went up. I thought this one was really interesting. Although his grades haven't changed, he went from being a reluctant reader to being a reading machine. Is that not good? I'd be happy with that. And here's a kid whose grades went up. Same thing with grades. Behaviors, inappropriate behaviors. Anyway, on my website, and I'm going to show you later on my website where you can find this. It's on my coaches page because I have my coaches working on this. 102 schools. We have yet to find one single kid that if all 4 Ps were put in place, that we haven't had some kind of improvement. Either grades have gone up and behaviors have gone down, or at least behaviors have gone down. Not always have the grades come up yet, but we have had positive change for every single kid that we have done this with. So some kind of positive change, whatever they were focusing on. So I'm going to give you just a couple minutes to look at the 4 Ps page and think about a kid that you're working with. And I want you to put their initials in the middle, because I would really like for you to try putting the 4 Ps in place for one of the children that you are working with. Oh. Okay. I'm going to have to start talking really fast. I'm just kidding. Anybody having trouble thinking of a kid? Anybody having trouble narrowing it down to one? I think it's best to start with one. What's cool is all my schools that are doing this in Kansas and Oklahoma have now gone on to student number 2 and are putting it in place for student number 2. Thank you. It is break time. I'm sorry I took a long time to go over this, but hopefully this gave you a lot of information. There were tons of interventions built into this little story. When you come back from break in 15 minutes, we're going to start talking about data. And for some reason, my computer is running all by itself, and I'm not even touching this. So while you're at break, I will figure out why it's running all by itself. And I will see you in 15 minutes.